Now today we will study about the preparation of colloidal sols. Now first method is disintegration method. I told you कि हम बड़े particles को colloidal sol में लेकर आते हैं by disintegrating them. So what we can do is we can do it by Bredig's arc method. Now what do we do in Bredig's arc method? Like we have taken metals gold, silver, platinum और इनके हमने electrodes बनाकर we have suspended them in a water, in a trough which is having water, and we have put some ice into it for cooling. Now what happens when we pass electric current? What happens is vapors of these metals are formed due to the intense heat of the arc, and then the vapors, when they condense, colloidal particles are formed. So this is how we are using disintegration method to prepare colloidal sol. Now next method is peptization. It is also a disintegration method. What we are doing in peptization, we are converting precipitate into colloidal sol by adding electrolyte. Now in peptization, we have taken a precipitate, we add electrolyte to it, we get a colloidal sol. So FeCl3 से हमें FeOH thrice sol मिलता है और AgNO3 से हमें AgI sol मिलता है. Now the next type of method is aggregation method. Now what happens in aggregation method? We are taking small particles, we are aggregating them together to form a bigger molecule जिसका size colloidal range में fall करता है, and this is how colloidal particles are obtained. Now we are using chemical method. First method is double decomposition. So we take As2O3 plus H2S, we get As2S3 plus H2O. We use reduction to prepare gold sol. AuCl3 plus SnCl2 gives gold sol plus SnCl4. Then we use oxidation to prepare sulfur sol. Br2 plus H2S gives sulfur plus HBr. And we use hydrolysis to prepare ferric hydroxide sol, that is FeCl3 plus H2O gives FeOH thrice plus HCl. Now we will discuss the methods of purification of colloidal sols. Now we will discuss some methods how to purify the colloidal sols. First method is dialysis. Now what does dialysis involve? It involves the separation of particles of colloids from crystalloids by passing them through a parchment membrane. Next is what is electrodialysis. If we want to speed up this process, we apply electricity to it, dialysis becomes faster and the separation between colloids and crystalloids can be done faster. Next method is ultrafiltration. Now what is ultrafiltration? That we pass the particles of colloids and crystalloids through a filter paper and the separation is done. And in ultrafilter papers, the pore size is further reduced by treating it with a solution of collodion. Now, what is ultracentrifugation? That the colloidal solution, it is put in a centrifugation machine, and what happens is that colloidal particles, they move in the centrifugate and the impurities, they are left behind, and from the centrifugate these colloidal particles can be recovered. Now, let us study the properties of colloidal particles. Now, colloidal particles, they are heterogeneous, and the heterogeneity can be confirmed with the properties which we are going to study. Now, the first property is Tyndall effect. So, what is Tyndall effect? Tyndall effect is the scattering of light by colloidal particles. Now, what is Brownian motion? Brownian motion is the continuous zigzag motion of the colloidal particles, and what is the cause of these Brownian motion? It is the continuous bombardment of dispersion medium particles with the dispersed phase particles. This is the cause of Brownian motion. Now, next is what is electrophoresis. Electrophoresis is the movement of colloidal particles towards oppositely charged electrodes under the influence of applied electric field. Now, we know that colloidal particles, they are charged. So, the negatively charged colloidal particles will move towards the positive electrode, and the positively charged will move towards the negative electrodes. Now, what is electroosmosis? Electroosmosis is the movement of dispersion medium particles towards the oppositely charged electrodes, and the colloidal particles, they are not allowed to move. This is known as electroosmosis. Now, let us understand the origin of charge on the colloidal particles. Now, what is this charge on colloidal particles due to? It is due to the preferential adsorption of ions on the colloidal particles. Now, what happens if AgNO3 is added to Ki? That means this is the dispersed phase here, and this is the dispersion medium here. What will happen? You will get AgNO3 plus Ki, it will give AgI plus KNO3. Now, what will happen is that since this is the dispersion medium, Ki will preferentially adsorb I minus from AgI, and I will get a negatively charged Sol. Now, if Ki is added to AgNO3, now what is going to happen? This is my dispersed phase and this is my dispersion medium. Now, what is going to happen? That again AgI and KNO3 would be formed, but this time what will happen? That this will adsorb, AgNO3 would adsorb Ag plus on the surface, forming a positively charged Sol. So there are two types of salts, negatively charged salts and positively charged salts. So negatively charged salts are formed by preferential adsorption of negatively charged ions, and positively charged salts are formed by preferential adsorption of positive ions. Now let us understand the concept of coagulation. Now what is coagulation and how this coagulation takes place? Now when we add electrolyte to a colloidal sol, coagulation takes place. It gets coagulated. Now what does this coagulation depend on? Okay, let us understand first what is flocculation. Now if I add a small amount of electrolyte to the colloidal sol, when I add small amount of electrolyte to colloidal sol, flocculation takes place. And what is the difference between flocculation and coagulation? That flocculation can be reversed by shaking, but coagulation cannot be reversed by shaking, and coagulation takes place when large amount of electrolyte is added to the colloidal sol. Now what do I understand by coagulation value of an electrolyte? The minimum amount of electrolyte which I add to the colloidal sol so that coagulation can take place is known as the coagulation value. So that means coagulation value of electrolyte jitni low hogi, higher would be the coagulation. Now let us understand what is Hardy-Schools law. Hardy-Schools law says that higher the charge on ions, higher the charge on ions of the electrolyte, greater would be the coagulation. Now suppose I want to coagulate a negatively charged sol. So for negatively charged sol, the order would be Al3 plus followed by Ba2 plus followed by Na plus. So सबसे ज़्यादा coagulation कौन cause करेगा? Al3 plus, because higher the positive charge, more easily it would be able to coagulate the negatively charged sol. Now for positively charged sol, FeCN6 4 minus followed by PO4 3 minus followed by SO4 2 minus followed by Cl minus. So higher the negative charge, more would be the coagulation of the positively charged sol. Now first let us understand कि coagulation हम कैसे कर सकते हैं. What are the methods which we can use for coagulation? So first is electrophoresis, prolonged dialysis can cause coagulation, heating or cooling a sol, and mutual precipitation, that is by adding a oppositely charged ions. Now what are protective colloids? Now the lyophilic sols, they are known as protective colloids because they can prevent the lyophobic colloids from coagulation. Now what is gold number of a protective colloid? It is the amount of substance which is added in milligrams to a standard to 10 ml of standard red gold sol in order to prevent its coagulation when 1 milliliter of 10% NaCl solution is added to it. This is known as गोल्ड नंबर. अब हमें कैसे पता लगेगा कि गोल्ड सॉल जो रेड कलर की है उसकी कोएगुलेशन नहीं हुई है? क्योंकि अगर वो कोएगुलेट हो जाएगी तो क्या होगा कि उसका कलर रेड से ब्लू में चेंज हो जाएगा. तो हमें क्या करना है, हमें कितना प्रोटेक्टिव कोलॉइड, गोल्ड नंबर से हमें क्या पता लगता है कि हमें कितना प्रोटेक्टिव कोलॉइड मिलीग्राम्स में उसके अंदर ऐड करना है ताकि जब हम 1 ml 10% NaCl विच इज़ एन इलेक्ट्रोलाइट उसके अंदर डाल देंगे तो भी वो कोएगुलेट नहीं होगा. दैट इज़ नोन एज गोल्ड नंबर ऑफ अ प्रोटेक्टिव colloid. Now we will understand what is emulsion. Now when the dispersed phase is liquid and dispersion medium is also liquid, we say that emulsion has been formed. Now what is demulsification? The process of separating the constituents of an emulsion, मतलब अगर हम dispersed phase और dispersion medium को अलग अलग कर देंगे, that is known as demulsification. Now what are the types of emulsions? Water in oil emulsion. Now what is the meaning of water in oil emulsion? That is, dispersed phase is water and dispersion medium is oil. What is oil in water emulsion? It is dispersed phase is oil and dispersion medium is water. Now for both type of emulsions we have to add different emulsifying agents. Emulsifying agents क्या होते हैं? Which stabilize an emulsion. So for stabilizing water in oil emulsion, different emulsifying agents are there, and for stabilizing oil in water emulsion, different stabilizing agents are there, that is different emulsifying agents are used. Now what is a gel? Now when the dispersed phase is liquid and the dispersion medium is solid, gel is formed. Now there are two types of gels. One is elastic gel. Now as the name suggests, they possess the property of elasticity. Now what will happen when you heat an elastic gel? It will undergo dehydration and it will form dehydration to form solid. But what happens जब आप इसमें water डालोगे वापस, it will swell and this process is known as imbibition. Now what is a inelastic gel? Elastic gel is reversible. It is also reversible because जब आपने इसमें water डाला तो वो वापस वैसा ही हो जाएगा. But when we talk about inelastic gel, there is no elasticity, and when you heat, what will happen? It will undergo dehydration to form a powder. That means it is irreversible. अगर आप उसमें पानी डाल भी दोगे तो आप उसको वापस वैसा नहीं बना सकते. तो inelastic gel is irreversible. Now let us understand what is a catalyst and what is catalysis, what is positive catalyst, what is negative catalyst. Now catalyst you have heard many times. Catalyst क्या होता है? It is a substance which is added to a chemical reaction in order to increase the rate of reaction. And how does this catalyst work? It actually lowers the activation energy of the reaction. So reaction follows a different path, and that is how the reaction gets speeded up. But it is not essential कि हमेशा ही reaction जो है वो speed up हो जाएगा. There are many reactions in which when we add a catalyst, the reaction gets slowed down. So what is a positive catalyst? Which speeds up the reaction. So when I take this reaction which is taking place in contact process to form sulfuric acid, here the catalyst is V2O5. So it is a positive catalyst because it is increasing the rate of reaction. But when I talk about decomposition of H2O2, so in decomposition of H2O2, phosphoric acid acts as a negative catalyst, that is H3PO4. It decreases the rate of reaction. Now what is catalysis? The reactions in which we use catalyst in order to speed up the reaction, that phenomena is catalysis. Now there are two types of catalysis. One is homogeneous catalysis and one is heterogeneous catalysis. Now what do we understand by homogeneous catalysis? Homogeneous catalysis means that the catalyst which we have taken is in the same phase as the reactants. So that means if I use NO gas here in this reaction, it is an example of homogeneous catalysis. Or when we talk about the hydrolysis of ester, we take aqueous H2SO4. So here reactants, products, catalysts, they are all present in the same phase. So this is an example of homogeneous catalysis. Now what is heterogeneous catalysis? Heterogeneous catalysis is when the reactants and products are in different phase. So when I use V2O5 catalyst here, now what is happening? The reactants and the catalyst are in different phase. So we say that it is heterogeneous catalysis. Now we will study about some properties of enzymes as catalysts, and we will see that what are the different characteristics that an enzyme has. Now let us study some features of catalysts. First is activity of a catalyst. Now we know that what happens is catalyst gets absorbed on the surface of the reactants, लेकिन वो जो catalyst है वो इतनी strongly भी absorb नहीं होना चाहिए कि बाकी के reactants absorb नहीं हो पा रहे हैं. So this activity of a catalyst basically depends on the extent of chemical adsorption. What is selectivity? Selectivity का क्या मतलब है कि एक कैटलिस्ट क्या कर सकता है, वो रिएक्टेंट्स को डायरेक्ट कर सकता है टू फॉर्म ओनली अ पर्टिकुलर product. Let us take the example. If I take CO plus 3H2 and I use nickel as catalyst, I will get methane and water. But अगर मैं CO और H2 catalyst ले रही हूँ in presence of copper as catalyst, now I am getting HCHO, that is methanol. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि यहाँ दोनों रिएक्शंस में रिएक्टेंट तो मेरे सेम है, डिफरेंट क्या है, द कैटलिस्ट इज डिफरेंट, जिसकी वजह से द प्रोडक्ट्स आर डिफरेंट. सो दैट मीन्स द कैटलिस्ट हैज़ डायरेक्टेड द रिएक्टेंट्स टू फॉर्म डिफरेंट प्रोडक्ट्स. So this is the selectivity of a catalyst, that it selectively forms a particular product. Now let us talk about the enzyme catalysts. Now enzymes are biological catalysts. They are catalyzing various chemical reactions in our body. Now what is the feature of enzyme catalyst? That it is very specific. Specificity is a feature. Like if we want to catalyze the inversion of cane sugar, only invertase can do that. That means inversion of cane sugar, this is cane sugar, इसको जब मैं हाइड्रोलाइज करूँगी, I will get glucose plus fructose. And the enzyme which is used here is invertase. So that means invertase can only catalyze this reaction. अगर मुझे maltose की hydrolysis करनी है, I will have to use the enzyme maltase. Now there is a optimum pH and temperature at which these enzymes they work. After that they become inactive. So what is the pH range? It is 5 to 7 and the temperature is 298 Kelvin to 310 Kelvin. Then how do enzymes they act as catalysts? That is the lock and key mechanism. That is the enzyme, a particular enzyme gets bound to the substrate molecule. तो वो उसकी शेप ऐसी होनी चाहिए जैसे कि की लॉक के अंदर फिट हो जाती है, वैसे ही एंजाइम शुड बी एबल टू फिट इनटू द एक्टिव साइट ऑफ द सबस्ट्रेट. सो व्हाट इज द स्टेप 1? स्टेप 1 इज द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ एंजाइम सबस्ट्रेट कॉम्प्लेक्स. And what will be the step 2? Step 2 is that enzyme substrate complex gets converted to enzyme product complex and then it gets decomposed to form enzyme and the product. So enzyme is regenerated back because it was used as a catalyst. Now what are zeolites? Zeolites are shape selective catalysts. हम zeolites को shape selective catalyst क्यों बोलते हैं? क्योंकि zeolites are 3-dimensional aluminosilicates in which some of the silicon atoms have been replaced by aluminium atoms and they have pores and cavities जिसके अंदर सिर्फ वही reactant molecule जाके fit हो सकते हैं जिनका size उतना है कि वो pore में fit हो जाए. तो that is why they are known as shape selective catalysts. ZSM5 is an example of a zeolite which converts alcohol to gasoline. So now we have studied various concepts. We have studied how to purify a colloidal sol, how to prepare a colloidal sol, what are catalysts, what are different types of catalysts, how do they function. So all this material is given in the module. When you will study the theory, your concept will become more clear. problems related to these concepts are also given in the module. So try to solve these problems and you will see that your concept will become more clear. Thank you. God bless you.